Alright guys, we have an update to my favorite deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! The World Chalice deck. I love this deck with a passion. It got me back into the game, as you remember from my last profile. But with the new update, we did get back Augusto Emerald, which increases the deck's skill cap to astronomical levels. If you can pull him out from the deck during your combo, you pretty much can have a crap ton of negates. And there's some new tools in here as well, so we'll go over that in just a second. But let's start with the main deck. Starting off with your vanillas as always. Nothing changed here in the ratios. 1 crowned, 2 chosen, 2 beckoned. We have to definitely bring out Beckon more often in this build because of Digestor Emerald. He is our only level 4, but between our spell cards that can help us special summon from deck and Ib, the World Chalice Justicar, we can bring them out much easier now to guarantee this play. So you're going to want to try to get this out very often using your special summons from deck, but the ratios here are pretty standard. I wouldn't run any more. They can cause some awkward hands. 3 copies of Lee, your main searcher for missing combo pieces. So when she's normal or special summoned, you can search for a World Chalice monster and add it from deck to hand. And she has a second effect that you can pitch a monster from your hand to the graveyard in order to add her back to your hand. You can do this sometimes to extend some plays because the World Chalice Link monsters can special summon World Chalice monsters from the hand when they leave the field. So if you want to extend her for the Link plays, that's an option that you can do. Setting up graveyard isn't something that you're trying to do, but sometimes you just want to get that extra body, so at least you can do that. 3 copies of World Legacy World Chalice, your main combo extender. If this normal summon card, or rather tribute summon card, leaves the field, you special summon 2 World Chalice monsters from deck. It also has a graveyard effect that you can banish it the turn, a turn following the turn it was sent to the graveyard to search for a World Legacy card. Really good for turn 3 plays, extending, and it also has a final ability where if it's on the field and your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can tribute this card just to negate that summon and send it to the graveyard. So it can be used as a potential interruption. It's nice to have the little extra body every now and then for that. 2 copies of World Chalice Guard Dragon. This card is really good. It is a combo extender because you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon a vanilla from your graveyard to a zone a Link monster points to. But more importantly, if you have an extra copy, it's a hand trap. You can send it from the hand or the graveyard to negate a card effect that targets a linked monster. Not a link monster, but a linked monster. So anything a link monster points to. Negate that activation and destroy it. So when you go through your combos and you have an extra World Chalice special summon, this is something nice to have in hand or on field. So really good for that sense. 3 copies of Venus and the 3 Shine Balls, still mandatory for World Chalice. Gives the maximum potential, and now that we have Augusto Emerald, recycling those Shine Balls for 3 more Link materials is phenomenal. Really helps you go the distance. You want to see this card as much as possible, along with your other extenders, so mandatory. Now for some spice. I'm running 3 copies of Elemental Grace Doriado. Her summoning condition can seem a little daunting. She can't be normal summoned or set. She has to be special summoned by having 6 different attributes or more of monsters in the graveyard. That seems a little steep. However, World Chalice naturally has every attribute available to them. So just by going through your normal Link plays and combo, you can generate those 6 attributes in the graveyard easily. And once you special summon, she gains 500 attack and defense for each of those different attributes in the graveyard. So essentially, she's a 3,000 booty on board. Attack and defense, which is great. The thing that makes her secret spice and really kind of busted is that when your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can banish 3 monsters from your graveyard to negate that summon and destroy those monsters. So if your opponent pendulum summons, goodbye. If they try to summon multiple monsters individually, goodbye. It's not a hard once per turn. It is as many times as you want, and because you're a Link-centric deck and a combo deck, you have plenty of graveyard fodder to use for that ability. So if you get her on board against certain decks, it's an auto win. 3 copies of Ash. We already know how important this card is. 3 of in every deck. It's pretty staple. Alright, onto your extenders for spells. 3 copies of Transmodify. Again, we want to see Venus as much as possible, so we have this card to help with that. If you hard draw Shine Ball, you can normal summon it or special summon it with an ability, and then Transmodify it to get Venus, so at least you can get it that way. Lee the World Chalice Fairy is a level 2, so you can get it that way. Just really want to see Venus, and this helps you get there. For the extenders, we have 1 Emergency Teleport and 2 Unexpected Die. You kind of want to open up with Venus and one of these, or any amount of monsters in your hand and one of these. You want to see one of these at any point in the beginning of the combo. We don't want to run 3 Unexpected Die. It can be bricky in multiples, and it won't be usable if you have monsters on board. So most of the time, if you draw a second one, and you're in the Saryuja play, you'll probably end up pitching it back into the deck. Other extenders, Monster Reborn, World Legacy Succession. Monster Reborn is self-explanatory. You're a combo deck, you want resources, bring some back. Same thing with World Legacy Succession, although Succession is searchable thanks to Justicar, so if you really need that extender and you don't want to go for the trap instead, you can use this to get some link materials to make bigger link monsters. 1 copy of World Legacy Heart. Really good extender. If you need some extra monsters in your hand when you're doing link plays with the World Chalice link monsters, this gets you more bodies on board by adding them back to your hand and special summoning them from your hand. And it also offers a bit of protection for your link monsters. If they were to be destroyed by battle, you could banish it from the graveyard to protect them from destruction. So, pretty good. Searchable as well if you need it. You are a combo deck, so 3 copies of Called by the Grave. It's mandatory in any combo heavy deck. You just want to make sure all your plays go uninterrupted. So run at 3. And now for the traps. 1 Searchable Negate, World Legacy Sorrow. If you have a co-linked monster on board and your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can negate that effect and destroy it. Really nice to search it out and have some blanket protection. Kind of needed because the end board combo for this deck isn't heavy on negates for spell and trap, but we're going to go over a side deck choice later. And finally, 2 copies of Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. You need this card. You want to see this card as well. It is a normal monster without wasting your normal summon. And that's important because you really want to save your normal summons for World Legacy World Chalice. So this allows you to bypass that altogether. It's just a really good extender and starter. Fantastic card. I wouldn't run at 3 because it does brick. And now onto the extra deck. We have Daigusto Emerald. Just to reiterate, you use your World Chalice special summoning abilities to bring out 2 copies of Beckoned, and you bring out Daigusto Emerald. Shuffle back the 3 Shine Balls with its first attack effect by detaching a material, and then draw a card. So not only are you getting a draw resource, but you're recycling Shine Balls to make larger plays. And then once you're done with that effect, you can just link them off away. And you don't need them. You don't need to see them anymore. But having this card back really feels nice because you get to really go hard on the plays. It's just amazing. Ib, the World Chalice Justicar. We went over this the last time. It's a really good extender and searcher for World Chalice. We're not going to do... for this particular deck, it's more based on a big board deck. And for that reason, we're not running the Borosword Savage Dragon, but we're still using her for extension and for some valuable search, so still a good card regardless. Onto the Link Monsters. 3 Imduk, always important. Allows you to get an extra normal summon of a World Chalice monster. And also, if he attacks a monster that he points to, this is a very niche effect, he can destroy that monster automatically. So, kind of good, but definitely one of the main Link monsters you want to start off with. And it also lets you float into your other World Chalice monster when it leaves to the graveyard. A copy of Link Spider. Again, extenders. If you have an awkward play where you have 2 extra vanillas, you could turn your first normal monster into one of this, and then special summon the other normal monster under it, making Imduk, and then you can get an extra normal summon. It makes some plays a little less awkward. More importantly, we have the 1 copy of Amaraj. Now, World Chalice had a huge issue with having a normal summon. You normal summon a vanilla monster, you make Imduk, you tribute Imduk to bring out World Legacy World Chalice, and then you really don't have a way to let go of World Legacy World Chalice. Amaraj allows you to fix that problem. Since it requires a normal summon monster and tribute summon, is that it's so important because then you link off the World Legacy World Chalice. You get 2 materials. If one of them is Lee, that gives you another monster in hand. You can sculpt your hand and your board with Almirage, thanks to it's super good. And if you want to leave it on the board later on in a combo, it does protect your board from certain spot targeting. So it's, God bless this card. I'm so glad we got this card because World Chalice really needed a way to fix that kind of scenario. For the Link 2s, we have a copy of Aurum, a copy of Ib, a copy of Proxy Dragon, and Nightmare Phoenix. You usually, for this particular build, use them for link climbing. There's no real reason to have any one of these on board for a period of time. Aurum would be the only difference. He allows you to special summon a World Chalice monster, or any monster rather, from the graveyard by tributing a monster he points to. World Chalice monster he points to. So you can use that for certain extending plays, but most of the time they're just used for setup and link fodder. And Phoenix has some purpose. His battle protection helps with a monster we'll discuss shortly for co-linking. A copy of Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior. Spot removal, if you're going second. Draws cards if you're going first. For every monster he points to that's a World Chalice, when he's special summoned, you can draw a card. So you can draw for potentially 3 cards. And again, it extends the plays by linking away, and you get to bring out another World Chalice monster from the hand. So extender, removal, what more could you ask for? The 1 copy of Saryuja. This is to help you dig into your deck after making Shine Ball plays and other extenders. You want to see this card first in your link combo just to gather more resources and fix your hand. I don't want to run 2 because with the loss of Firewall Dragon and some other natural extenders like Brilliant Fusion, it's harder to make multiple Saryujas and actually ending up with enough materials to make a big link board. So the 1 is enough, and thanks to this next card, Appaloosa, you don't need to go so hard on a giant link board. She is nuts. She gives you so many negates on 1 card that you really don't have to go heavy on the links. You can slap her down with some of the other cards like Doriado and also Griffin that you don't need that much. You can link climb into 2 or 3 link monsters, have the negate set down, have Doriado on board, and this will lock out your opponent heavily. The ideal board is to have Appaloosa, Griffin, and Saryuja like this, and then Doriado next to Griffin. So they're all linked. And if your opponent has things like Impermanence or anything that negates cards on field, they have to answer not just Appaloosa, but they also have to answer to Griffin. So with this setup, they're forced to special summon to the point Saryuja points to. And if they get that negated by Appaloosa or one of your other cards, they're pretty much done. They have to use another zone or make a link monster on the side. So in some strategies, it's just instant win. But this is the guaranteed board you want to end up on. It's World Chalice. Your hands will be all over the place. Your plays will be very skill intensive. But if you could end up on at least these 3 or these 3 and a negate, it's a wrap. It really does shut down a lot of decks in the meta. Now, I don't have a side deck prepared for this deck particularly because it's meta calls and depends on your locals or whatever competitive scene you're going to. But I do want to give an honorable mention to Gamma Seal and the Waterfront package. It sucks not having 2 terraforming because you can't guarantee Waterfront as often. But there's one weakness to this deck that I considered only because my local scene, they use a lot of monster effects. But you can't really deal with multiple spell and trap answers. So you can side deck the Doriados and maybe World Legacy's Heart for this packaged, and if you do that, this will give you all the negation that you need against back row heavy decks, Sky Striker, so on and so forth. So if you side deck whatever you want, please make sure you side deck this package. It will help you for game 3 when you're forced to go, when you're taking that go first, or you're forced to go first in general, or you want to go first. This is something that you have to side in because the deck will struggle against those kind of decks, and you got to guarantee that win condition. But that's pretty much the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any ideas with the new format, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thank you.